Joining me is Barnaby Joyce, the Nationals frontbencher and former Deputy Prime Minister. Barnaby, a brawl like this, how often have we heard now, for years I think, of defence officials at war with their minister? Meanwhile, maybe there's a connection here. We're not getting the weapons we actually need.
Oh, it's a fiasco, isn't it, Andrew? I mean, the most recent one for the Australian people to clearly understand is we couldn't get a ship to protect the Suez Canal, one of our vital trading components. Now, they say they didn't want to. It's starting to look more like they weren't capable of it. We can't get crews for the vessels. There was an excellent article the other day by Dupont, and as he pointed out, you're looking at what's happening in the Ukraine, how the new battlefield is working, and we need drones. They're just in hiatus as they sort of sit around and wait and have review after review, then just stagnation. This is a really critical thing for Australia. It's really where the debate, rather than concentrating on shows on the ABC in Question Time, they should be concentrating on defence and how you defend our nation, which right now has some serious issues that we need to pick up on.
Barnaby, absolutely right. Meanwhile, I was just talking about the key up culture in Papua New Guinea, can do, sense of duty, really, go in and fix it. Meanwhile, the reforms today, the industrial relations reforms, the Greens snuck in a provision that to allow employers to be jailed for 12 months if they ignore instructions not to ring workers after hours. Listen, Barnaby, I can't think of a single good thing that this government has ever done for employers, but a whole list of goodies it's given to its union backers and slackers.
Well, not only does it show they've got incompetence out there, they've actually got incompetence in there. They don't read the own amendment that they've put through. Now, it wouldn't come in for another 6 months. And now they're desperately, so thank God for that, but now they're desperately saying, oh, gosh, we all just voted for something that could have put someone in jail for making a phone call. I mean, this is, you just wouldn't read about this. And we're still sitting back waiting. They said on the 22nd of December that have amalgamated the acts, the Durka, Merker and VEA acts in Veterans Affairs. 22nd of December. What's today? We're heading towards the middle of February. Sight nor sound of it. It's just incompetence. And, when you see that, you're seeing, when you have incompetence at that level in the chamber, then God help you down in the department and in the field.
But Barnaby, I was so pleased and really, like I say, I'll say it again, I was moved to see the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea enumerate the virtues of Australia in a way I've never heard Anthony Albanese speak of them, and he's our Prime Minister. But speaking of values, it's wider than that. There's an interesting difference developing between Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton, the opposition leader, when it comes to defining and defending our values. I want to show you the difference here between their responses to China passing a death sentence, possibly to be commuted, a death sentence on Australian democracy activist Yang Hengjun. Albanese this week saying, oh, look, it's just bad, no criticism of China. Dutton actually explaining why it was bad and what it said about China. Have a look.
We have conveyed, firstly, to China our dismay, our despair, our frustration, but to put it really simply, our outrage at this verdict.
We need to call out egregious behaviour, and it's not just Dr. Yang. There are many other freedom fighters and people who are speaking up for civil rights and for human rights who will never see the light of day again. And it's time for our country and for other countries of similar values around the world to be very frank about the human rights abuses that are taking place.
So even then, Barnaby, the Prime Minister does not go hard against the nature of China's decision-making and its society, just that he didn't like the decision. What do you make of that?
Sounds like he ran his lines sort of past the embassy of China, doesn't it? Heard of that before. And it just goes to show that the foot on our throat is starting to happen when you can't clearly say what needs to be said. and Mr Albanese as Prime Minister of Australia should be absolutely clear that there's no foot on our throat, and we'll be unashamed and straight down the barrel and truthful about what is quite obvious. You know, we're having this man is got basically a suspended death sentence. He hasn't killed anybody. He just basically wasn't liked by the government, and this is a reason why our nation needs to become as strong as possible, as quickly as possible, and stop frolicking in so many issues that are really not the issues that are going to keep your children safe.
I tell you what, a country that won't define the difference in values between us, you know, in this case, and a tyranny, isn't actually reminding the people back home what the difference really is and why it's important. This is the issue here. But Barnaby, we missed you on Tuesday because you helped organise that rally against renewables at Parliament House. You had to duck into Parliament. You were going to come on the show, but you had to duck into Parliament for a vote or something. What did you make of the turnout and the message there?
Well, it's growing all the time. And it is one of the great swindles. It's the great Wild West swindles of wind factories and solar factories. These secret deals, secret deemed rates of return that these, you know, the Beijing Energy Corporation gets, where basically they can get 17-18% on their $100 million investment, pay interest around about 4%, pocket $14 million a year, using as an example a possible $100 million investment. They don't have to abide by vegetation management laws. They can kill fauna and flora at their whim. They get absolutely just breeze through. Your reliability of your power goes through the floor, your price goes through the roof, and the money goes overseas. And people are waking up to it. They're starting to call it for what it is. And I even had which is interesting, a guy who would vote for me in a pink fit, a person who stood for the Greens 3 times, with the Australian Conservation Foundation. People even on the other side of the fence are saying this is a scam. This is an absolute scam. And the Fourth Estate, and I know you do, Andrew, but they've got to start asking some serious questions about exactly what the hell is going on out there.
What is the gain for all this pain? I wanted to pass on to you on Tuesday. Interesting ally you now have. It's not just Bob Brown, the former Greens leader. Jeff Moseley used to head the Australian Conservation Foundation before it went mad. Australian Conservation Foundation former boss also supported that rally, doesn't like what's being done to the countryside in the name of saving the planet. Barnaby Joyce, lovely to talk to you. Talk to you next week. Thank you very much.